Greetings to all. Myself Vaishnavi, Assistant Professor, IT Department from SNS College of Technology. Now we are going to see about the hypervisor in cloud computing and its applications. First one, hypervisor. It allows the multiple OS to run on the single host computer at the same time. It uses the full virtualization technique and it improves the hardware utilization by running the multiple OS instances on the one machines. Here we have the problem statement of software company development uh, uses a multiple physical machines to test the applications on the Windows, Linux and the Mac OS environments. This result in the high infrastructure cost, low server utilization and difficulty in managing the hardware resources. The company requires a solution that can run the multiple OS on the single machine independently while ensuring the efficient resources usage and the easy management. The solution will be the hypervisor. Here we go with the DT based solution. So we have the 5 stages. First stage will be the empathize stage. In empathize stage, we find that high cost, low utilization, and then management issues. Second stage will be the define stage. Here we define that multiple OS testing on the shared hardware. Third stage will be the ideate phase. In ideate phase, we found that the virtualization technique and the hypervisor and then virtual machines. Fourth one will be the prototype phase. Here we configure the host OS with the multiple virtual machines. Fifth one will be the testing phase. Here we found that cost reduction, efficiency, and then easy management. Next one, hypervisor. It is working of an hypervisor. It is a software layer installed on the physical hardware. It divides a single physical machine into the multiple virtual machines. Each virtual machine can run its own OS independently. Here we have the terminology. The key terms will be the host machines, guest OS, instance, and then virtual machine manager. And then types of hypervisor. Here we have the two main types, that is type 1 hypervisor, type 2 hypervisor. Type 1 hypervisor, it runs directly on the hardware with the high performances. Type 2 hypervisor runs on the top of the existing OS, easier to set up. The classification is based on how the hypervisor interact with the hardware and the host OS. Type 1 hypervisor, it runs directly on the hardware platform. The guest OS run above the hypervisor and also known as the bare metal and the native hypervisor. No host operating system is required in the type 1 hypervisor. And the features and advantages of the type 1 hypervisor, it installed on the bare system without a host OS. It provides a full virtualization by simulating the hardware. It is independent of any OS, smaller in size and efficient in resource management, and failure in the one virtual machine and does not affect the other virtual machines. And then type 2 hypervisor, it is also known as an hosted hypervisor. It is installed on the top of the host operating system. It supports the other operating system and above it, completely depend on the host OS for the operations. The architecture and the uses of the type 2 hypervisor, it consists of the physical hardware, host operating system, whether it may be Windows, Linux or the Mac OS, the type 2 hypervisor softwares and the guest virtual machines. It limited support for the dynamic RAM allocation and it is suitable for the small environments and personal uses. And then para virtualization, the guest OS is modified and recompiled before the installations. It enables the direct communication between the guest OS and then hypervisor, and it uses the hypercalls instead of the non-virtualizable instructions. It improves the performance and then efficiencies. The para virtualization examples and the limitations, cannot run on the native hardware. Different systems uses the different commands. The differences from the full virtualizations run independently. The para virtualization requires the communication with the hypervisor. The comparison of the type 1 hypervisors versus the type 2 hypervisor, it is also known as the bare metal. native embedded hypervisor. It is also known as an hosted hypervisor. It is runs on the physical hardware. Here it runs on the host operating system, independent of the any operating system and dependent of the host operating system. No host OS is required. Here the required host OS to function. Here it supports the hardware level virtualization and it supports the OS level virtualization. The example will be that VMware Microsoft Hyper-V. The example will be the Oracle VirtualBox, etc. The assessment question will be the hypervisor allows the multiple OS to run on the physical machines. That requires a host system to function, and the answer will be the true. Thank you.